Hi there. It is raining hard in the great Northwest this morning. And so I am excused from getting into the water in my tasteful bathing suit. And we're going to now enjoy putting together for you Generation Gap. And it's the show that we do that shows how things have changed and have not changed over the last, let's say, 100 years. I'm Dorothy Wilhelm. I'm pretty sure of that. And my co-host today is my friend Ray Still. Are you still Ray?
I'm still Ray, yes. Today I'm the very punchy RMS.
And on the other side, now look how lucky I am. These two great guys. As our producer, Jason Falls, but he also has a generation membership. He doesn't care about anything, as near as I can tell.
That's right. I'm Gen X. We don't care about anything.
So I'm the only one. I have to hold up the whole Constitution. But usually we do start off by saying a little bit about what our generation is. And I'm a member of the silent generation. What that meant was that we didn't make protests. We didn't make trouble. We didn't make noise. We just were very quiet. I know you don't believe that, but it's the way it was. Ray, what's your generation?
I'm a millennial, which means we made noise about everything, or so you thought, because Gen Z and Gen Alpha are coming around, and they sure seem to be louder than we ever were.
You should say what the years are, though. I didn't either, but you should.
I think it's like 1980 to late 1990s. Yeah, I mean there are millennials who are about 10 years older than me, and they're the beginning. And I think my brother is technically a millennial, but he was born in 96, so he definitely straddles the millennial Gen Z attitude.
Border.
Yeah, he's a border child.
And I think the silent generation was about 1939 to 52 or something like that. And after that, they got much closer together.
Yes.
Yeah, they did. And so, Jason, my dear, how do you explain yourself?
I'm Gen X. I was born in 1973, so I'm kind of on the tail end of Gen X, right before the Oregon Trail generation, which was the little tiny generation between Gen X and millennials. But we're probably 65 through almost 80 is your birth years for Gen X. And we were the kids who, when we got home from school, our parents threw us out of the house and we were not allowed to come home until dark. They did not want to see us. We drank out of the hose. We've learned how to fend for ourselves. And when the millennials and generations younger than them complain or whine about things now, we say, rub some dirt on it and shut up. We don't care. So, but because that's how we were groomed.
I do wonder what how that attitude swapped, because it's not like you kicked out your kids, Dorothy, but it was definitely a different.
No, we were kicked out. No, what I was just shocked when Jason was telling me that earlier, because we were the ones. Our folks put us out after breakfast, and we were not to come. Well, now we could be there for lunch, because see, they didn't have lunch at school. You went home for lunch.
So then were millennials the ones to protest the treatment of being thrown out of the house?
Well, I don't know.
I think it could be, but I think what happened is the hippie generation gave birth to Gen X, and Gen X gave birth to millennials and Gen Z. And our generation decided we didn't want to treat our children the way our parents treated us. So we overcorrected and overparented and gave out 12th place participation trophies and all that kind of thing, where our kids are empowered to feel like they matter, whereas we were told we didn't. So, yeah. I think that's what the difference is.
I agree, but I had to make a joke there somewhere.
Well, see, because I have kids older than both of you, and it's kind of interesting because we didn't, but of course we were all over being military. We lived in a lot of different places. But I think that what really did happen toward the end of both of your generations, perhaps, is that the helicopter parent came into vogue, and it made it impossible for kids to really achieve anything. or feel like they knew how to do anything. So I think we've got that settled. But now, Ray, you had an idea for our show today, which was actually better than my idea. So I thought, let's start by plugging your marvelous newspaper, which has an office in downtown
Enumclaw. It's pronounced Enumclaw. Yes.
Well, I knew that, but I couldn't do it. Okay.
Well, my president did call. He was like, "Oh, when can I come down to Enumclaw?" I was like, "No, you're not from here. You're not from Washington."
We know that, but so we're kind of wondering,
Fire me, John.
Everybody is talking about the protests that are going on. And we thought it might be interesting not only to see how we're feeling about things now, but how this would have happened. God help us if it could have happened in as part of our generation. So because you thought of this is your fault. Set it up for us.
Okay. Well, as you said, everybody's talking about the protest. I've covered all 3 protests down here. So 2 No Kings and a third one that was under a different name. And I noticed that when I talk with people, there's a lot of younger baby boomers, older Gen Xers that are saying that this is their first protest. And in my personal experience, when I've attended the protest, I've mostly seen people my age. So it is fascinating that I'm seeing older people deciding to take to the streets and demonstrate when it was pretty clear to me that they didn't much care about this before. So the generational difference here between earlier protests that I used to participate in and now modern protests that I'm covering as a reporter is very interesting to me.
And I think another thing that's happening more urgently recently is that, like, people like me, older people that we can't march down the street in a crowd because crowds are just not working. So we're all looking for things we can do. And my son, who's very active at organizing, in fact, my two military kids naturally are taking part in organizing things. And my son called me and he said, Mom, no, Jason, you're gonna love this. Mom, he said, put it on YouTube. He said, get it on and get it on. And I didn't see that's something I can do. But, and so we're looking for things that people our age can do because in fact, my Tai Chi instructor was running to catch her bus the day of the protests and fell and broke her wrist. So we don't want to do that. No. So we're looking for how do you do it? And she said, haven't you noticed there are more parades of cars now that people can put up their signs and do that, because for a lot of people, a crowd is just not going to work out. And yet we're talking 7 million people. That's a lot.
Yeah, we are. I'm trying to look for a photo, but I did interview one woman at a protest, and she was, I believe, 97 years old. Yeah. And she really did she found a seat in front of City Hall, held up her sign. She didn't move. She didn't do anything. She was very kind to me, and she talked with people. That's what she did. She sat and participated in whatever way she could. And that meant she wasn't going to chant. It meant she wasn't going to be standing on the street, but she was there showing her support. And I suppose maybe I'm coming too early with my words of wisdom here is, even if you feel like you can only contribute the most minimum aspects of a protest, give us that minimum. Give the movement that minimum, because every single person who shows up, everyone else sees that. And it's encouraging. It's encouraging for me to see 12-year-olds. It's encouraging for me to see 97-year-olds. And everybody else is like that. Everybody thinks it is so cool when everybody comes together like this, no matter what you do.
I think that's really true. And of course, my friend who broke her wrist she was doing it safely. She was going to ride on a bus, and it was going to be, and she's much younger than I am, much younger, and so we're not immune. But the point is that this is, I know I hear in an assisted living community, people say, I want to do something, and not only about this, but it's not enough. We don't care anymore very much just to sit around. They have wonderful activities and fun things to do And it used to be enough to say, well, we worked hard and we get to relax. See, we didn't work that hard, so we don't need to relax. Well, like my dad worked for the Great Northern Railroad, and it was hell. He worked, he built boxcars, and it was just a terrible. And so he was ready to quit, and he indeed had to quit. But for most of us, we may be physically challenged, but there's a lot we can do. And I was so pleased that Stephen said, here.
Honestly, get your little transportation bus, load up a dozen of you folks, and just hang signs off the end and wave out the window. Drive by, multiple times. We had that happen at our recent protest. People on both sides would drive by multiple times with their signs. Some people would roll call, some people would cheer. And I think that is a great way to show your support, but also be able to be cognizant of your limitations.
Now, Jason, since you're the generation that doesn't give a damn, I'm very fond of Jason. But so how does all this strike you?
Well, I was really interested to hear Ray say that the Gen X and the late baby boomers were saying this is their first protest. It would have been my first protest too. I've never been to a protest before, not a formal one anyway. And it's not necessarily because I think Gen X generally doesn't care. I just think that it's got to be pretty severe for us to get upset about. And I think the current political sort of no kings, topic is something where my generation is starting to go, wait a minute. We were taught that this was not how America runs, and this is awful, and we need to do something about it. And so I could see where Gen X and the late baby boomers and even the hippie generation are starting to go, wait a minute. I mean, the hippie generation obviously was a generation of protesters, but I can see where my colleagues in my age group would start to get really concerned, and maybe I need to do something finally. So that surprises me to hear that a little bit, but then it doesn't surprise me to hear that a little bit, because again, the first protest that I've ever been to will be the next one I go to, because I've never actually been to a formal one. But the state of things in the country right now, in the political climate and whatnot, and it's not just the president, but it's also just the polarization of the issues and the inability for both sides to compromise and come to an agreement on something is really frustrating. And it's getting to the point where we're really concerned about the future of America. And so I could see me getting motivated to go to one soon.
Great.
And so
I'm
sitting back watching and kind of watching cautiously and saying, where's this going to go? And how bad is it going to get before we need to actually stand up and do something? And so hopefully more and more people are deciding that it's time to do something now.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's time. It's so different than what we were going to talk about, and probably we'll get to it eventually. When we first did any protesting, but this is so far above anything that we've ever even imagined. Part of it, I suppose, is just because that how America was supposed to work isn't taught in schools anymore. I suppose we were so confident that everyone knew how to do it.
Yeah.
But it is heartening, though, to see that people care. In fact, I've got, as you were talking, Jason, I was thinking I've got, as I was saying, my older son is very active with this, and he did a strip of on the phone, on the YouTube or whatever, of what to do, how to contact your legislator, and why, because we all know they're not going to do a thing. And he said, well, that isn't true. They want to be reelected. What? So you call them. He said, you call them every day, and you call them, and he has the actual script there. Well, see, now that's something that anybody can do.
Yes, you can't. If you can't show up due to any reason, email. And also, you can schedule emails. It is so easy. You would just make one email, copy and paste it, schedule it, ask your kid or grandkid to help you do that, and just have it keep going. Sign petitions. A great example down here is the city of Black Diamond was just about to repeal its marijuana ban, but then It was just about to zone an area where a store could open. Keep in mind, no store was going to open. There was no application for a marijuana establishment. The state had not given out a license for that area. But still, the community did come together in a huge way. And the politicians said, well, we got to reverse course. Now, I know this is just the smallest example, but this was an example of the community coming together and changing their elected officials' minds on this issue.
Nice.
Yeah,
It can happen.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I have in my mind, because we were in Taiwan in the early 50s, and I've seen people taken away to be shot because of their beliefs. You don't lose that. And we would say that such things couldn't happen here, but things are happening.
Dorothy, you said you'd never been to a protest except for one time.
I have. Well, I've surely I've been to a protest and simply can't remember because I can't remember a lot. But this one, actually, I thought of another one same time. When I was in high school in Spokane, and in the winter, the temperature runs down as low as 40 below on occasion. It is cold. And girls, no matter what, I would have been junior that year, still couldn't wear, we had to wear dresses.
No pants.
No matter how cold it got. Yes, precisely. So poor little girls.
Was this a pro-pants?
I had a
pro-pants protest?
We had a 2 mile, I had a 2 mile walk. And
uphill both ways?
Yeah. No, it wasn't uphill. No, we had it. See, honey, nobody owned cars in those days. You are so dumb. You are no offense. Well, Ray just fell off his chair. So no, this wasn't uphill. It was a 2 mile walk, which was fine. We all walked because nobody had cars. But what happened was it was awful cold. And so we just wanted to wear on those very, very cold days. It wasn't cold all the time. We just wanted to wear snow pants to school. And then we could even change them. And the principal, they wouldn't allow it. Wow. And so the protest was not, we did not protest. The boys protested. These are high school, the football players. These were the big guys. And they all came to school dressed like girls in skirts.
That's amazing.
Well, they expelled all of them, but it was very impressive.
How do you expel half the school? Wow. That's amazing.
I know, but see, they all did it, and eventually they had to let them back in.
Yeah, of course. I feel like if that happened today, there'd be a huge media firestorm over that.
There would. It's you can't. Nothing works the way it did at all. But and the other one. Now this one is my protest. This is my personal protest. The Catholic boys. See, I'm Catholic, but I wasn't always. I was a little Baptist girl, and when we were on the way home from school, the little Catholic boys would beat up on us. Well, now this was not nice, but they did, and so I decided I was a great fan of Superman, and I decided if I had a Superman outfit, then they would not be able to treat me so badly. So my little friends and I made Superman costumes with a little cape and the little. We just made them. Well, I want to tell you that didn't work.
That's so fantastic. That's great.
But we did. Well, we all went out. We were all standing around on the street proudly in our outfits. We were not street walkers. We were street standers. And these little Catholic boys came over and beat up on it.
Wow.
So I guess my message is, never feel that everything is lost just because you didn't get things to go the way you wanted.
I'm going to go back in time and teach you about quarter rolls and how effective those are.
Actually, things were so different, and you
probably didn't even have quarters. Quarters were expensive back then. No one had quarters.
Yes, actually that would have worked, and I think they weren't the same, but it would have been possible. But I just never thought of it. So,
Yeah.
well, it's hard to believe we're practically out of time now.
Oh,
Uh,
damn.
so
I have a protest story that I can quickly say in just a little bit. It was also in high school for me.
Okay.
I got super pissed at my parents because I purposefully, and I've only did this one time in my life, I purposefully skipped school to go to a pro all marriage protest out in Seattle. And my whole intention was not only was I going to be at the protest, but me and several other people were not going to be at school. Like that was the whole point. We were going to get in trouble and noticed at school for this particular reason. And my parents called in and excused me.
Yeah.
And I was so pissed off at them. I was like, you completely missed the point of this entire demonstration.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm still a little pissed at them for that, apparently, because I still have this story.
Don't even blame you in this regard. And Jason, what is your kind of closing inspirational thought here?
Well, my closing inspirational thought is, and the only thing even close to a protest that I've been involved with was our principal in high school got on the intercom and was, basically shaking his finger at the whole student body. And he used the term, if any of you gutless wonders want to come down here and talk to me about this, my office is open. The entire school went down. Like everybody got up immediately out of class and went to his office and crowded him in there. And we did a protest in mass. And so the words of wisdom are, if you believe in something, stand up for it. I mean, there's no reason not to. And the worst thing that can happen is they just tell you to sit down.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of civil disobedience.
Right.
That's the next step. That's the next step. Don't be afraid of civil disobedience. Let's go.
Like for instance, give us a quick little demonstration.
National strike. Let's do a national strike. Let's go ahead and just like not only just obey the rules of free speech and the right to gather, but actually your ability to disrupt the system, which is extremely uncomfortable. I completely understand. But if these protests don't work, then that is a logical next step.
And what do you think? I would love to have your reaction to the way that the free press is being dismantled.
I mean, that's a whole other episode or 5. I mean, I
know you can.
It's disheartening, that's for sure. And we're trying to cover this, and sometimes folks make it really difficult. I'm getting some flack for my article, which we're going to put out there because some people have assumed that I have a bias towards the political right that showed up here. And I would hope very clearly that through this podcast, that is not who I am. And they obviously don't know who I am. So that's I think it's the old phrase, better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and confirm it. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard being a journalist right now. It's scary being a journalist right now. Not just from political, well, not just from the political aspect, but from the business aspect.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's even part of the, for instance, I don't mention the name of your paper, not because I don't think it's a wonderful paper. I do, but we never did. You never used them, and I'm wondering if it isn't time to spotlight the papers. Of course, if you call attention to them, they're all.
You never know. But we're a hyper local paper. We only do Enumclaw, Black Diamond, Buckley, some county stuff, some state stuff, and we have audiences. We have a worldwide audience, an international audience. They're not going to, I appreciate it, but they're not going to come on down to Podunk, Enumclaw.
Well, as you can see, we have just about dismantled this generation, this whole thing. This is, and you can join us absolutely every month to see something else desecrated and kind of. Well, but see, this is good because it's good to know how we definitely, look at things. So, no telling. Oh, it'll be the one before Christmas next time. Heaven in it,
I'll be there with bells on.
No telling what we will do then. So this has been very, very great. This is Dorothy Wilhelm. I'm kind of thinking. And here's this good. This is the SOB Radio Network. SOB stands for Spunky Old Broads. And all of the hosts, mostly me, are women over 50. So have a great Thanksgiving. And we're going to be right in this spot when you come by again. Goodbye now.
No kings.
No kings, right?